Hello besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about the Classics Starter Pack for beginners. A couple things I wanted to get sorted before I actually talk about the 10 books today is how I actually went about choosing these. I feel like everyone has a different opinion on which classics beginners should be reading. Some of the things that I was looking for were generally easy to read, and the way that I kind of verified this, because that's really subjective, is most of these books were released no earlier than 1900. I think the earliest I go back is 1890. And the reason for that is because the closer to present day that these books were published, the more similar they are to our modern day English. Number two, a lot of these books are relatively short. A few of them are a touch longer than maybe I would prefer, but they're balanced out by the fact that they were published a lot more recently. A lot of these are under 200 pages. And finally, the third one is entertaining. I actually liked these books. There are definitely easy classics that I've read that weren't my favorite. These books I actually did enjoy. So that's what we're looking for today. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, stick around because we got some good books that we're going to be talking about today. Book number one is Animal Farm by George Orwell. This is a fantastic book for people who are looking to get into classics. And Animal Farm is short, it's interesting. Basically, we are looking at a group of farm animals who are being mistreated by their master. They're frustrated, they're upset with the way that things are looking on their farm, and so they overthrow the master of the farm in hopes of creating a utopia. Each of these animals is anthropomorphized. They are characters. They have voices in this book, and which also just makes it really different than a lot of other classics that I have personally read. We ultimately get to see how the pursuit of a utopia is flawed, and ultimately it results in corruption, and we're looking at this idea of power and class stratification. And yeah, this one's really great. I read it about a year and a half ago, and I thought it was pretty good, especially if you want an easier classic to get started. Number two is one of my favorites, and that is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I have read this, I want to say 3 times now, and I know it's really basic of me to say that The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite classics, but it's true. I am a statistic and I'm so sorry. But this book is written from the perspective of our main character, Nick Carraway, and he lives next door to the very wealthy and very mysterious Jay Gatsby. Gatsby is famous for throwing these extremely lavish and extremely extravagant parties. And of course, Nick, his next door neighbor, is like, what's going on over there? I want to get to know this guy. And when Nick ultimately does meet Jay Gatsby, he learns that he is obsessed with reuniting with his lover from the past, Daisy Buchanan. And in this book, we take a close look at old money versus new money, like money that you earn versus money that's inherited. We take a close look at the American dream. You see a lot of interesting symbolism that goes on in this book. And it is just one of my favorites, partially because it is just an enjoyable book. I do feel like classics sometimes, upon a first read, they're not necessarily an enjoyable time. It's like you read them, and then when you read them the second time and you understand everything that went into it, at that point it becomes enjoyable. But I genuinely think that this is an enjoyable read all the way through. You're interested, you're captivated. This is a great one. I know, I'm sorry that that's basic. We do have quite a few books on this list that are much less popular than this one and Animal Farm, but I gotta start out with some of my faves, this is great. Book number 3 is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. This is a book, again, I told you guys, some of these are being assigned to middle school classes. I read this book in like the 7th grade, and it has stuck with me ever since. So I promise, if when I was, 12, and could understand this book, you can understand this book, I swear. In Flowers for Algernon, we are following our main character, Charlie Gordon, who is the first person that has been chosen to undergo a scientific experiment that is supposed to increase his IQ. He has been tested and has a very low IQ, and the reason in the first place that people are even considering having human subjects for this experiment is because they had previously done it on a lab mouse named Algernon, whose intelligence skyrocketed after undergoing this experiment. And so the doctors saw success, and now they want to see if it works on humans. And we are reading this entire story through Charlie Gordon's journal entries. And so he's kind of writing how he's feeling, what's going on in his life. It's like his updates as a patient, basically. Everything's all good and dandy until circumstances start to change for Algernon, our mouse. And I remember just being so surprised that I absolutely loved a classic classic this much at this time in my life because I wasn't really into reading at this point. I'd kind of lost it when I was in the 7th grade. And in this book, we look at a lot of really important ideas like the treatment of disabled individuals. We look at emotional intelligence versus just like intellectual intelligence. We look at like science and ethics and just so many things that are really important and written in a way that's pretty easy to comprehend. If I remember correctly, this one was published in like the 1960s-ish. So yeah, it's like more recent than a lot of classics, and I feel like this one's less popular. So this one's great. Highly recommend. Number 4 is The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I just put my sister onto this book. I've been begging her to read The Picture of Dorian Gray for probably 3 years at this point. She's not a classics fan. She loves like a smutty romance. So I was like, girl, you gotta read this. She just rated it 5 stars, okay? So trust me when I say anyone could like this book. This follows our main character, Dorian, who is very vain. He is obsessed with how he looks, with the way that he is visually perceived. And one day, his friend Basil, who is an artist, is like, I want to paint you. And so Dorian lets Basil paint his portrait. And Dorian becomes like obsessed with this portrait because he realizes that it could stay young forever while he has to suffer and grow old and get ugly, basically. And at the beginning of our story, he makes a wish that, wow, if only this portrait that is so young and beautiful could grow old and I could actually stay young forever. And let's just say that this question is a lot more powerful than he thought it was. And in this one, we look at so many interesting things. We have beauty and morality and corruption and like the influence that you can be subject to as a person making like friends in this world. And I just think this is such an interesting book. I wish, actually, I don't know. I was going to say I wish I read this when I was in school, but maybe part of the reason that I love it so much is because I didn't read this in school. Most of these books I actually read like as an adult after I was in school. This one is so good. I know it's another popular one, but it's popular for a reason. Maybe, hear me out, maybe you're a fantasy girly, okay? Maybe you're like, look, I want something that's a little bit more interesting. I don't want fiction. I don't want to be bored. I want something that's a little bit more exciting. And to that, I would tell you, the first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, is in fact a classic, and it's a good one. I believe that this is the longest book that I am recommending in this video. This one is right around 400 pages, depending on the edition that you have. However, it was published more recently, and on top of that, if you guys have seen the films, I feel like that actually is a great kind of palette for this book. I think watching the films first helped me absorb the book because there was like at no point was I confused because I kind of knew to some extent what I would be getting. I don't think this is hard to understand if you don't watch the film. I just think in my case, the film did really help. But plot-wise, in this series, there is a great evil named Sauron, and Sauron wants to rule Middle-earth. There's nothing that he desires more than to rule this land, okay? And Sauron has done just about everything to do that. He has collected the rings of power, and basically that's what you need to do to rule these lands. But he is missing one ring. And so in order to be the great ruler that he desires to be, he needs this last ring. However, that ring has fallen into the hands of Frodo Baggins, our protagonist in this iconic trilogy. And so ultimately, Frodo goes on a grand journey to destroy this ring so Sauron can never truly rise to power. It is epic. It is iconic. It is fantastical. It is the blueprint for all fantasies that we have today. Fantastic. And also it's a trilogy, so if you like the first one, you can just keep going. Number 6 is The Giver by Lewis Lowry. Yes, don't sleep on The Giver, guys. This is an iconic classic. It is short. It was published not that long ago, and on top of all of that, it's good. It's actually good. My book club read this all together a year ago, and we are all like 25 and had an excellent time reading this book. In The Giver, we take a look at a society who is theoretically no longer suffering from pain because everyone has conformed to this idea of sameness. We are all the same. We don't have individuality and individual ideas and personalities. We all kind of believe in the same things and act the same way. But in the story, we are following 12-year-old Jonas, who gets selected to be trained by the giver. And the giver is basically the only person in society who has access to things like memory and color and all of these things that are kind of no longer in existence in today's society, that create pain and they create emotions and they create like joyfulness and happiness and all these things. And so Jonas has to like step up to the plate and work with the giver. And it's a fantastic story. There's a lot more to this book than that, but I really, really loved it. One of my goals in 2026, in addition to reading more classics, was also to have a better sense of fashion. I feel like often I am the kind of girl who just wears sweats and athleisure and calls it a day. And so I wanted to thank Quince for partnering with me on this portion of the video and helping me achieve all of my 2026 resolutions. If you guys have watched my channel in the past, then you already know that I've worked with Quince before. I'm obsessed with this brand. I'm obsessed with their products. I just wanted to show you some of the beautiful pieces that Quince sent me. The first one is this brown sweater that I'm wearing with cute little buttons. You could unbutton it, you could keep it buttoned. I think it's just perfect for the fall and winter season. And then I actually paired it with the jeans that I'm wearing right now. And these are perfect. I've been sitting in them, working in them all day. They're stretchy and I'm obsessed. I am always looking for jeans. Then I also just have this basic brown short sleeve top. I am always on the hunt for basics to wear all throughout the year, especially in Texas, because it gets pretty cold and pretty hot. And so this is perfect. Then I also have this matching set. It is a little bit wrinkled and on my hanger because I've already worn it twice. I love it so much, but it's just this linen khaki colored matching set. I knew that I should wait until the winter was over to order these, but I just am such a sucker for a matching set. It is cute. It is comfy. You guys can see I have the pants hanging inside here. I love them both so much, and I can't wait for the weather to get a little bit warmer so I can wear this like all the time. And then the last piece that I have is this like greenish colored cardigan. I absolutely love this cardigan. I actually have the same one in white. I wear it all the time. I have filmed several YouTube videos in it. I'm obsessed with it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get another one because I already know that I wear it all the time. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of these products, I'm gonna have them linked in my description box down below. But also, if you're interested in just generally browsing the Quince website, I'm gonna have all of their information down below. And if you guys use my link, Quince will know I sent you, which helps me out so much. And so I also, of course, wanna thank you guys for supporting me and supporting my channel. I could not do this without any of you. And of course, I also wanted to thank Quince again for partnering with me on this portion of the video. Let's get back to our classic starter pack. Book number 7 is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This is a book that I do feel like has gained popularity over time. I feel like this wasn't one of those books that I was hearing about all the time in like high school English class, but when I was in college, my roommate had this book and she was like, oh my gosh, you absolutely need to read it. And at that point, I was getting back into reading, and I'm so glad that I listened to her because this is such an excellent classic for anyone. But again, if you're not that into classics, I feel like this one might even be one of the best ones on this video because it's short, it's extremely well written, it's extremely easy to comprehend, and it's actually really fun and interesting. Our main protagonist in The Alchemist is named Santiago, and he dreams of nothing more in life than to find the world's greatest treasure. We follow him as he goes on a journey all over the world, doing all of these different things, trying to find what the true treasure of the world really is. And of course, on this journey, he learns about the true joys of life. I found Santiago as a main character very interesting. I thought his perspective on treasure and like how his perceptions change throughout the book to be very captivating. We also look at like destiny and dreams and what kinds of things in life bring you satisfaction, and there's a little bit of love in there, and it just has so many different things that I really appreciate as a lover of reading in general, but also for classics. This is a great one. Number 8 is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. This is another quick and easy one to get through. In this book, we have our main character, Siddhartha. Who would have guessed? I know. And Siddhartha is a wealthy man, but he ultimately decides to leave his life behind in order to pursue finding spiritual fulfillment. He doesn't know what that looks like or how you achieve it, but he decides that this is what matters most to him, and so that is what he's going to do. And he puts himself in a lot of really uncomfortable situations. He's traveling all over. He stops eating for a time. He becomes homeless for a time. And so we just follow him on this journey. But it's during the time of the Gautama Buddha. I don't know if that's how you say that, but I do think it's helpful, like context for when this book is taking place. We're looking at truth and enlightenment and the cyclic nature of life and so many other great things. This one's great. I don't have a ton more to say about it, but if this one's not on your radar, I think it should be. Book number 9 is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I'm not a huge Steinbeck fan. I have found that some of his work does not keep me the most entertained. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if that offends you. However, I do think Of Mice and Men is a good one for this video because it checks off all of my boxes. John Steinbeck has some other beefy books that are really, really slow moving. I don't think they're inherently difficult to understand. I don't think that's really the issue with Steinbeck, but this one I think moves quicker and it's engaging and it's short. Yeah, I just like this one for a lot of reasons, a lot better than some of Steinbeck's other works. And so in this one, we have two main characters. There is George Milton and Lenny Smalls, and these two guys are very different from each other. George is a very smart guy, but he hasn't technically been like formally educated. And then we also have Lenny, who's like a bigger, bulkier guy who is, I think, widely accepted as a mentally disabled individual and character in this book. But both of them, while they're different from each other, they have the same goal, they have the same dream, and that is to own a piece of land together and to like work on this piece of land. This book, just like a lot of other Steinbeck, takes place during the Great Depression. And so obviously that is a big dream at this point in time. I think this one's good. It's short. It might technically be considered a novella, but yeah, even like for non-beginners, if you're gonna pick any Steinbeck, I'm gonna say pick this one. And this is another book that I was assigned in the 7th grade. So if 7th grade Olivia can do it, so can you. And then book number 10. Maybe those books were a little bit too easy for you and you want it to be like a little bit spiced up at the end of this video. I am going to present to you with a book that is maybe slightly more complicated, but really it's not. And that is 1984 by George Orwell. In this book, it's taking place in like this futuristic world for the time that it was written, and it's suggested that that future is taking place in 1984, although technically we don't actually know if it's written in 1984 for reasons that you discover in the book. And the whole government is being led by what people know as Big Brother. And Big Brother is always watching you. I'm sure you've heard that. Basically deciding how everyone acts and how everyone behaves. And so this is another book where individuality and individualism and making your own choices and having your own ideas is completely frowned upon and illegal. There's intense government surveillance, and we're exploring this world through our main character, Winston. And Winston works for the Ministry of Truth, but he starts to have all these doubts and have all these questions about the government. He realizes that things are really not working, and that ultimately causes some we'll call it some problems for Winston down the line. This is a really, really great one, a little bit longer than some of the other ones that I have suggested, but in no way more difficult to understand. I think this is a fantastic one to pick up if you're a beginner. I don't actually own a lot of the classics that I talked about in today's video because I donated most of them because I'm hoping to collect the Penguin editions. So right now I'm actually very short on classics, which is unusual for me. I usually have like a full shelf of them, but I want to restart my collection. If you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down below. Let's do the pig emoji for Animal Farm. Yeah, that feels like a good one. And thank you so much again to Quince for partnering with me on this video. Again, I'm gonna have all of their links in the description box down below. And I think that is it from me. I hope you guys are having the best day and the best reading month, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye.